think that AI, the most promising things I'm seeing now are the meeting assistants and the things that are helping bring more context to the other tasks that need to happen out of the meeting. Those are the tools that at least we can use that are useful. What I see next is the agents, and the agents is going to be the one that'll take over your computer, something in your computer that's doing all the work.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Modern CPA Success Show. As many of you probably know, we are in a People Who You Should Know kind of series that we're doing right now. And at the very top of our list was our guest today, Scotty Scarano, founder of an accounting firm, Paget Business Solutions. He will call himself the janitor of Accounting High and Scotty OKR. So we got a couple different things we're going to dive into. Scotty, can you tell us a little bit more career journey and help people just know who you are a little bit?
Yeah. Clarifying note, I'm part of Paget Business Services. My firm is, but that's part of a franchise. I didn't found it quite.
Okay. Thank you for the correction.
But I'm in that network, and that is my firm. But where do you want me to start though? How far back are we going?
How about why accounting, and then what got you to the firm and the next, your passions that you're chasing because of how you've worked with your firm?
Sure. Yeah. Fair. Good place to start. So my grandfather was a CPA and he had his own CPA firm. And that was like a sign of success that I looked to. You know, he raised a family, member of the country club. He did all the things. And I saw that as like the guiding light. My dad also was a CPA, also worked for my grandfather up until the point where he got fired. And then eventually he took over my grandfather's side software business that he started within his firm. Mm-hmm. So he started a software for nonprofits, fund accounting software. That's mainly he did audits for nonprofits, and they split that off into a new company, and my dad ran it and took it to North Carolina. So we were from New York, moved from New York, North Carolina. That's why I'm down here in Raleigh. But he just picked the place on the map. It was like best places to live. To run a software company, he doesn't need to be anywhere tied to anything. Let his CPA lapse, and he just ran that company, and they still do that to this day. And that's how I found my way into accounting. I was like immersed in both the software and the hardware, so to speak. Languages of both of those were in my house and throughout my life. So that's kind of what led me to that path. And then eventually, I stumbled onto working at some CPA firms, and then I found this firm. Wasn't quite a CPA firm that I started. Paget wasn't quite a CPA firm, but it was at the time in my life where I saw a big opportunity. The guy was running a very modest sized firm, looking to retire in 5 years. And he kind of led me to the idea that I could take it over, and I was pretty young and I had a young daughter. I was like in my 20s. So this was like, he wasn't going to pay me that much, but he was going to help me, let me grow the firm and then get paid through that too. So I was ambitious, and then I could dip my feet into some sales and do some other marketing and things like that too, not just the accounting. So I saw that as I turned down a job doing like audits or things like that. I would have got paid double what I was paying. I think they were offering me a lot more at this other firm, but then I took this other job and it worked out. But that's the beginning of it. That's kind of how it started.
Oh, that is cool. I love that. And so then now if you move in, so next role, janitor of Accounting High.
Next I became an EA. So I didn't do the CPA route. I became an EA while I was at that firm. We did mostly tax, working with small businesses. And I grew that firm. So he was maybe riding at about like 100,000 a year. And I grew it quickly to like 300,000 or 400,000 once I had the full reins in there. And by the time I bought it from him, that 5 years later, we were over 500,000, and that's what I bought the firm from him for, and kind of raised it from there. Started hiring employees. We completely grew out of the office that we were in, bought a larger office. Someone from my team actually bought the office, and he was sort of like my right-hand person, operations manager. And we were very excited. We grew into this big office. I had 10, 11 employees. And then COVID hit, and they kind of put an end to the office. Nobody really wanted to go into the office anyway. We were able to do things remotely, virtually. We started dipping our feet into hiring some offshore Philippines, and grew that way. We were growing through a lot of the software we were using too. And our firm was at that point, we went fully virtual early COVID. And then eventually I worked myself out of a job. Once we got virtual, I didn't want to work anymore. I don't like working from home.
Forget the office. You didn't even want to go to the virtual office.
Yeah.
We sold the office, and I didn't do anything after that. By 2021, I think I got myself out of the reviewing of the returns, and then by 2022, toward the end there, I got myself out of sales. And once I got out of sales, that was it. And then I started doing the other things. Early in that phases, the reason I wanted to get out of sales, I wanted to get out of everything so I could pursue the things I was passionate about. And that turned into a podcast at first. It was like, I was listening to Blake, you may have him on your show, the Cloud Accounting Podcast, Blake and David. And that was a gateway. And then I started listening to other things. I found you guys too, my early days of doing my podcast. Cool. And I was inspired by all of that. So I wanted to talk about running my firm, but I wanted to do that and talk to other accountants about running their firms. And so I dove into that. We were the Sons of CPAs. It was like a fun name. Me and a buddy of mine, Jason Ackerman, he works at his dad's firm in Charlotte, and I'm in Raleigh, and we were friends, and we started that podcast together. And so as I phased myself out of the firm, I'm just talking about everybody else running their firms. And I'm more excited about that than anything else, because I'm not really impacting clients anymore. I wasn't working in the firm anymore. So there was nothing pulling me back to that. Stopped checking my email altogether. And I've got a great team that's running the firm. They still are to this day. And I just explored other things. So, and then I let Accounting High, and then I let Sons of CPAs evolved, and Accounting High just turned into its own brand and other fun stuff that we did. So.
Yeah, that stuff is really cool and super entertaining. I mean, always enjoy seeing your content out there. I mean, you bought that firm and scaled it pretty fast. And I mean, for you to be able to kind of walk your way out of that, I mean, what did you do differently from day one? I mean, because it feels like you have to have kind of a different perspective coming in, because so many people in this space, we just become really chained to the work. So yeah, did you just like day one just have a different perspective?
I don't know. I had a really good foundation in Paget, and Paget did have a lot of really good foundational things to run the firm, but they were struggling when the cloud came and when all this tech came, because they're 50 plus years old. Right now, they're probably like 55 something years old. So they had good foundational systems and the way to work with clients and stuff. But I opened up the door to, okay, now we're going to insert this tech and start doing things completely differently. So I was doing things upside down what they were telling us when it came to how to operate the firm with technology and different things. I just used my intuition. Then I found other people out there in the world. And it kind of gave me a big head too, because they started to take notice and we started growing faster than everybody else in the franchise. So I started to see that I was kind of leading the way to this next generation of this next thing. And it was a lot of trial, error, try things, didn't work, try things, did work as far as growth went. And because we were working with clients virtually, we were growing a lot faster. And we were taking on clients because they found us through software directories or other places than just knocking door to door and picking up a new client, a new small business client, because they found you through a referral or other things. So it was more the growth that I was passionate about. And I think eventually, when I lost interest, I was also kind of burnt out too, because I was doing about everything I could, and I hit the ceiling that you see most entrepreneurs hit. I think I couldn't grow past a certain point. I wanted to get into advisory and doing the things you guys were doing, CFO work. And I found out that would be another big lift, and I couldn't get my accounting team to actually do that. So I just got frustrated. And then I explored the other things, did other things. And then I wanted to do those things differently too.
Yeah. So, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, so what did you stop doing, I guess, that you see others keep doing over and over? Because again, there had to have been a point where you just were like, okay, I'm just, whether it's the review work, but even the sales, I think that's probably the hardest one. Once you find a technical reviewer, you feel like you might be able to push the work off, but the sales one, that had to be kind of a scary transition.
It wasn't scary. It was more of a desire to do something else. And that's why I got out of that. I wouldn't suggest anybody get out of sales if they don't feel like they're if they don't have something else that's keeping their interest, because once you lose that in your business, you do lose a lot of like the ground level. You're not meeting any of the new clients that come in, so you feel like you don't feel that impact that you used to feel. Like every time you felt like you're helping somebody, granted now, like I think that we have a really good sales system and a really good team that's doing it. I can go back into the business and maybe find purpose in there now that I've explored and done my other things, but I don't have to be tied to anything. There's nothing that's pulling at me. Psychologically, it is hard to get yourself out of the way, though. You're always going to want to insert, because the things you were doing is what got you to that point. For somebody that's trying to get out of the way, their success is the reason they can't get out of the way now, because they're probably better than anybody at doing sales, and especially that you might want to promote from your team. They're going to have to learn. They're going to need some time. They're going to need to make some mistakes. They're going to need to fail. They're going to need to screw up some things too in order to learn. As long as they care to learn and they want to keep doing it, they will learn, but you have to give them time too. So that's what's hard. Step out of the way psychologically.
And did you have to face that? I mean, for yourself, you wanted to have someone come in and do more. I think you wanted someone doing more of the sales. So you were also letting them fail during that.
And that was hard, but because I was preoccupied, then I kind of let it happen too. But it turned out to be a blessing. Like they didn't really screw anything up that bad or anything, and maybe they lost a deal or two or things like that, or talked themselves out of deals or other things and got discouraged because a lot of people said no. But once they got through some of those humps and they started seeing success, then they kind of took into their own. And now they've taken some ownership in it and they're changing some things too. So it's like you can see somebody grow and watch them.
Yeah.
Hey, I will be honest, I'm a little discouraged. Now I'm thinking to myself, damn, I have to like completely be done with this stuff in order to let go.
Kind of. That's the only thing that worked for me, because I would never let go of that. I would never let go of the sales thing. And now that I want to go back, it's almost like now I might go back into sales, and I might do that because it seems like the most logical place for me to go. I can't find, unless I was in charge of growth or other things like that. The firm isn't going to grow without me. I've learned that too. Unless we work out an equity structure, but I got my team working on commission, but they're happy with the way things are. They're not that interested in it growing and getting out of hand, because they've already experienced that. A lot of the team that I have now have experienced things in high growth mode too, and they like it better this way.
Well, speaking of fun stuff outside of that maybe had you preoccupied, you might be, and I'll say might be, the only accounting firm owner that I know that's also a rapper.
Might be.
So, might be. I don't know. There's maybe some closet ones out there that just aren't as brave as you. So, even yet, I will say Ice Ice Baby is my go-to in karaoke, and Will Smith's parents just don't understand. So just saying. Won't go freestyle though. But which identity came first, man? Like, was it one of those things where, you've just always had this like affinity for that and just it got pushed back? Because
it's weird. It's weird because even as a young kid, it's like I wanted to be an accountant and an actor, but actor turned into a rapper. Or that's synonymous now. You can mix those two up, but
yeah.
A lot of rappers become actors, but I wanted to be a rapper at a young age, but I also knew I wanted to do something stable and make some money. And I didn't, I had some delusions at a younger age that I would do that, but I never really pursued it. I was still in school. I went, and so good question, but I think it was always in me. It was like deep in there. And it wasn't until I had the freedom to express myself with the podcast and other things that I felt less fear of doing that, fear of judgment and fear of what other people are going to think. Obviously, like I was turning 40 too. So it was a midlife thing coming in, creeping behind me. It was like, I was like 38 when I started doing it, 37, 38. And so it was like me knowing that around that corner, that's what's going to happen. And I did get some ridicule, but I also got a lot of people that really liked it, because it was like, I was rapping about accounting and I was rapping about things that I knew. And so I knew that the people, my audience, would be able to relate to that. And so I took a couple of gambles, but I had a lot of supporters and people close to me that I was like, once I saw some encouragement and I got a little taste of that, then I started doing it more, and I doubled down and then doubled down again.
You're a brave dude. I've seen you do it in person in front of a ton of people, man. There's not very many people on this planet that can do that. What I am curious about, though, is have you ever solved a business problem while writing your lyrics?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, because I didn't. No, it's a good question. But I would never had it focused on both. I solved other problems while writing the lyrics, but I never was focused on the business when I was doing the raps. I just had that in my like vernacular. I just had that. That was what I was talking about. But it was like all past things and like funny stuff or things to make jokes. But I never found a way to really profit from all of that. It was like I was traveling everywhere. People were paying for my hotels and airfare and all that, but I wasn't making money like I was at my firm. Right. Like, and I think that's the thing that in the back of my mind, I knew like I wasn't really going to solve the world's problems doing that. It was just a fun, entertaining thing.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it just like accidentally just kind of like, you're like, oh crap, man, I should fix that. You know, so.
Yeah, I think a lot of things that I did started as like accidental, and then I found a problem. So I probably could come up with an example or two.
Yeah. This is great. Yeah, you're changing the way I thought this happened. You made me think of a really good friend I worked with, Mark, who was great in finance, was a music major at Indiana University. And he tells a story that a professor pulled the kids into a room and said, here is your don't live in your parents' basement plan. And essentially told them, even though you're a music major at a good school, it is really hard to make a living doing music, and encouraged him. And this guy did get a second major. So he works at a corporation. He happens to be a percussionist in our local symphony, but I'm not even sure if he gets paid doing that. Right, and he told the story like, one of these positions will open up in a big symphony and like 1,000 people apply. He's like, that is a hard life. But it sounds like yours wasn't necessarily the master plan of I want to do this, I'm going to have to make the money and then move toward that. It sounds like you found the passion and then found a way to get the business running so that you could do it.
Yeah. Okay. All accidental. None of that was like fully intentional. It was the business running on its own is something like the goal, like what do they say? The Holy Grail, like what everybody everybody aspires to and wants to do. Yeah. So it was like working with EOS and wanting to get into the visionary seat and just be in that and not have all my hats there. That was the North Star. That was like what I was going toward.
Okay.
I didn't know what would happen after that. And apparently I got distracted and did a bunch of other things after that, and that's what came up of it. It was just like the opportunity and the time presented itself, and then I had to fill it with something. And I fill it. I did. I filled it up quite a bit. I overflowed it again, and then I burnt out doing that. So now I'm like, maybe go back into the business and have some fun doing that again, make some money again.
That's a cool circle for sure. Cause that's the thing too, is like, sometimes with my kids, whenever they're talking about like what they want to do, I'm always like, well, and I know you're talking about your daughter going to college and everything. I'm always like, well, you got to find something that you're naturally good at. And because you don't want to run against the wind all the time, right? Like if I don't know math, like why do I want to do math? But and then you naturally want, and you're curious about how to get better at it. You want to kind of master it and do those kind of things. And then I always say, and hopefully it pays. So like those kind of things. But whenever people are like, oh, but I thought I just had to find something that I was just in love with, I say, well, it's not fun if you're not good at it. So I guess there's kind of that. But I said the other thing is like, man, professional baseball players hate their jobs sometimes, and they get paid lots of money to go play baseball. I'm like, sometimes you want your hobby you almost sometimes want to protect your hobby a little bit. And I'm not saying you don't have fun at work and you can't bring, you can bring that creativity back into, whatever you're doing. And obviously you have. I mean, I don't know, has rap teach you anything about running your firm at all, or even that journey that you've kind of taken doing that kind of stuff?
Nah, I learned all that stuff doing it. I didn't learn it from, you sometimes learn it. So I would say the podcast did, because then you're articulating things that you knew innately, or that were just like, you didn't know you knew as much until you start talking about it. And then once you're out loud about it, it's almost like advising a client too. Once you start talking about something that you experienced. So like rapping, again, once you start articulating it and talking about it, then it's like crystallized almost, and you know it for sure. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You can only really learn by doing.
It's just, I would guess that you have a lot of people saying, man, I wish I could do what you're doing, right? Have this firm that's kind of running on its own so I can chase mine, but then probably give you the long list of why that's not possible
Oh yeah.
for them. Is that true?
Oh yeah. Everybody's got the reason why they
Yeah,
can't.
I'm curious what kind of advice when I'm like, well, I wish I could do that, but here's why I can't, or just I wish I could. Do you think of like key advice you tend to give people when they say they're in that position?
I tend to ask them some more questions on why they think they want that or why they
Mm,
don't want what they already have and what they're already doing. Because sometimes you realize that you did like that thing that you think you didn't like, but you're just convincing yourself you didn't like it because nobody else does. Like it's
okay.
like accounting's boring. People complain about accounting, but really like there's people that love it and people that
Yeah.
love doing taxes and love
Yep.
doing that. So, it's like helping people too. I don't know. I would think that for them to really understand and know what they want to do, they got to take a break and pause.
hmm
And that's hard to get away from. If you're ingrained in everything every day and you can't get out of that hamster wheel at all, then you need some space too. So you may think you know what you want, but you don't because you don't have any time to even decipher what it is you want. You're just
Yeah.
chasing something else.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit like the EOS piece of working in the business instead of on the business, right? You're so busy doing that you can't. I like part of your story sounded like it was a progression, right? You started a little bit and could back away a little bit and then more and then more and then got to a point where like I'm out. And I wonder about that for people versus in this much time I'm completely out, that maybe that feels insurmountable to
Well,
someone
the
who
only,
doesn't
only
have
thing that would cause that is a crisis. If something really
it.
bad happened, that you were forced to get out of it. And in a way, that was COVID too for me,
Okay.
because I was in Mexico with the family during early part of COVID. And then when they did the lockdown, we stayed in Mexico and everybody stayed here.
Oh wow.
So it was like a forcing mechanism for me to force to have some distance between everything. I think if I was home and I was here, I may have made people come back into the office sometime at some point.
Interesting.
So because I was in Mexico for we have a house there. And so we were there for 2 months, two and a half months, and things went pretty smoothly. It was like the thick of tax season when that happened too.
Mhm.
And I came back and everything was well and the office was empty and nobody went back in. It was tumbleweeds. So I was like, okay, now we can probably close this. So it was a forcing mechanism for me. And it could be an accident for somebody, but that might be some of the only ways that people will change and push themselves to do that is some external factor. Otherwise, they're just going through the day to day, right?
Yeah, that's good sage advice. I mean, that's because I think, what is it like every crisis, like something like don't miss the opportunity or whatever. But
Yeah.
I do think that all the innovation comes out of, all the time whenever we're like coaching clients through these like turbulent economic times, which by the way, like in every minute, I've never really been in the moment and a client go, the economy is doing great. Like even whenever you retrospectively look back and you're like, the economy is great. You never heard anybody say it in that moment, but it does feel like when stuff like that happens, that's whenever it causes that innovation. So you just have to kind of look at that opportunity and just kind of roll with it, even though it would be kind of tough. And of course you're going back, staring at your lease, right? Going, crap, what am I going to do with this thing for the rest of the foreseeable future? We had a very similar situation where we had to all go home for like 3 months because we were doing a build out. We outgrew our office, but we owned the building and everything. So we decided, well, we're just going to do this gigantic build out. 3 months later, everybody figured out how to nest at home and work efficiently. And everybody's like, nah, I'm good. And so we were just
yeah. Everybody got comfortable. And it's a matter of at the end of the day too, it's like what the boss wants, right? Or what if there's one person in charge, if they want an office, then everybody will. So it was like I kind of set myself aside and put my desires out of the way. If that's really what everybody wants, I can find something to do at home. Like if I'm not going to work, I could do other things, and I'm at home right now. So
yeah. But probably to your credit, and I would say to Adam and Jody's credit in that they listened to what the employees wanted. Because I've heard this story before, but it was when people were being sent home, they're like, I really don't want to work from home. I want an office. So they put the money in the office. It would seem very logical to say, you're coming back to the office. This is an office-based firm. I just spent this much money to redo the office. And so I give them credit for listening to the employees and saying, okay, we can probably figure out to make it work. And it's it's changed our firm dramatically. I'm not even in the same city where they were, so no way would I have worked there. And we've got people all across the country and clients all across the country doing these roles.
For you, are your clients primarily regional or local to your office?
They were until we started growing a lot, and then we have clients all over the country now.
Okay. I think that makes it a lot easier too. And that's what we started to experience was, we had team members kind of leaving, trying to figure out how to accommodate that. And then this was back in like 2012, 2013. And then we started picking up clients kind of all over the country like you as we started to grow. And I was like, well, hell, if our team's everywhere, our clients are everywhere, do we need this thing anymore? So,
I think I have an interesting anecdotal story. So we had one person out of the whole team that like he thought he wanted to work from home, but really he was probably better in an office, and we had to let him go. Now he's got a job at another firm in an office, and he's doing great, or he's doing better because he's going to an office. Like, but this was years ago. Like he was probably better. Some people are probably better suited to going into an office because it's hard for them to get motivated to work at home. You have to be disciplined too to get work done at home, and to ignore all the other distractions. When you're at an office, the only other distractions are just the other people around you.
Yeah, we've had that a lot too. I mean, where we struggled, and now we're kind of now that we've merged in with Anders, we've got a little bit of an opportunity here, but we're trying to really figure this out. But, do you have any like straight out of college people working for you and going remote?
Not right now, no. Because all of our lower level stuff is Philippines. So anybody that would have been out of college type employee, that would have been better in person. And if I wanted to hire my daughter or hire somebody, you're better to have them in an office and learning there than like trying to shadow somebody online. I mean, people say it's possible, but I've been able to, and also the fact that all the lower level work that we have now is Philippines, and that's where the interns would be doing. So it's like I've created a situation where now it's hard because I've got all of the outsourced work, but I've got my team that's been here, that's working with clients that, they were in an office at one point. Now they're all remote. I mean, I don't know. I haven't explored what it's like to grow like this too. You guys have. Actually, when I first started hiring people, I hired somebody that used to work at y'all's firm. And then she didn't really work out. She didn't really work out either. She worked at y'all's firm, and then she didn't work out with us either.
We've heard so many of those stories. People are like, well, we hired them because they work with you guys. And we're like, well, there's a reason why they don't work with us anymore.
Don't hire those people, but don't steal our good people either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know some of your good people too, but they're still with you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just give us a call next time. We'll say it didn't work out.
Yeah. Right. So, Adam, I think the point you were making is if you're just getting out of college, the remote can be a challenge, right? You're just starting your career. You don't know anybody. I think you're onto something there.
And they want to be in office, I mean, hell, that's where they usually, people, find their spouse and their people and all that kind of stuff. It's really hard to create community, but the flip side's, once everybody starts having kids and they're settling down and everything, they're like, man, the office is a distraction. It's frustrating. So you get these two different worlds. And when we merged in with Anders and we're trying to wrestle, like telling all these, kids that have only been out of school for a year or something to go home, it's just a different thing. But so yeah, it's hard to wrestle with. But I mean, even at that though, on the AI side, are you doing anything with, I know you're not like in the day-to-day with the firm or anything, but are you guys doing anything on the AI front that because at some point, like that entry-level work, like you were saying, hey, it's at the Philippines. Well, eventually that's going to be done by the computer. So how are the people going to get, that need 5 or 10 years worth of experience? How are they going to get that experience if they never really ran through that?
So I think the AI, like the most promising things I'm seeing now are the meeting assistants and the things that are helping bring more context to the other tasks that need to happen out of the meeting. Those are the tools that at least we can use that are useful. What I see next is the agents, and the agents is going to be the ones that take the Philippines jobs, like the things that that'll take over your computer, that'll do all the tasks. That isn't just software. It's just something in your computer that's doing all the work, right? Those agents, that's the promise that AI is that has been looming over us for a while. What that means is the people coming out are going to have to learn to just interact with clients. They're going to be the front facing people.
Right.
So immediately out of school, they're going to have all the tools, and if everything is working and they have a basic understanding of all of it, then they're going to go straight to working with clients, and they're going to be client facing. They're not going to, and then you're going to have the 80% of people that didn't want to be client facing, that want to just do their work. Those are the ones that aren't going to have a role. If they can't interact with clients and they're the ones you won't need them anymore anyway. If they're not interacting with clients and they are not forming a relationship and building that trust with the client and helping them, connect all these other dots that the computer's doing anyway, then those are the types of people that, I think when we hired, out of every 10 people, there was 1 or 2 maybe that were great with clients and they were very ambitious. I think you found this too. They're so great that you can't even keep them because they'll run and start their own firm or something like that.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are going to be the most valuable moving forward. The ones that were working in the back, they may have to find another job or do something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I agree. I mean, they all say they want to do the more value added stuff anyway. I do think that AI is an opportunity for people to really do that stuff, because us, like you, have kind of offshored some of that more blocking and tackling work that they say is more nuisance than value.
Ron says, the digging of accounting.
Yeah, so we're definitely exploring that road. Unfortunately, still a little underwhelmed with the performance of some of the agents right now, but we've got a couple of really cool things brewing for automating month-end close and doing exactly what you just said, which is using agents to watch all our videos and tell our team, hey, like, you might want to talk to Tom about this, and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of cool things out there. Just trying not to get shiny object syndrome too much. So
yeah, it's happening really fast, but that was the same thing when the cloud was happening too. I think we've already been through a lot of this, a lot of the changes, a lot of the new apps, and a lot of the things. So as long as we're used to that cycle, things are going to get better too. Like, I'm not that impressed with it right now, but just like an intern that slowly gets better, like this thing is going to get better faster than that intern would.
Yeah. So I'm curious, with you not being involved in the day-to-day, how innovative do you feel like your firm is? Would that be a role that you're like, that's where I need to be there? Or do you feel like they're...
That's a great point. Because they're in their grooves and because they like what they're doing and the way they're doing it. It may have been new when they started working with this stuff, but it's not. And that's the one thing that they were happy to be rid of me, because I didn't want to always come in and change everything. Like, now when I come back in, that innovation, like I have to learn to rein it in, but I like this shiny new objects, and I like trying new stuff and breaking things and figuring the next one out.
Is your firm using EOS? I mean, is that an option to, yeah. Do you participate like in quarterly?
I'm still meetings? In our, so we actually are, we were working with a lot of the same people you guys were, and it was the next iteration of EOS. And so we have like and I forgot the name of it. I don't have the thing around.
Pinnacle.
Yeah. Yep. So we do our stand-ups every day, and we have SPM meeting that I'm missing a little bit of, and so that we have things that slightly modified EOS with the
but, as you said, we've done the exact same thing, where we do a lot of those things, but the quarterlies we found really good, which I would say the innovator kind of pushing for those things, but turning into the rocks that we're actually pursuing those things where it's continuing to go on. So impressive that you're still doing that. That sounds like you'd have to, but I was just curious, with you stepping away, it seems like it could be staying the same, which is dangerous.
Everything is staying the same. I've got our L10 sheet, and we're still keeping up with all the scorecard and everything in there, but it's like from 4 or 5 years ago to now, everything is like just maintaining. If I were to want to tweak things and change things, that's going to require a little bit more effort, and I think I have the bandwidth now to do that. I've kind of explored all the other fun stuff. Now I got to figure out what that role is going to be, and something that's going to ignite me again, because after rapping in front of people on stage, this
Yeah, it's going to be hard to get that buzz. So what does that look like over the next like 5? I mean, you talked about like you have everything really on autopilot right now. So it's like, don't want to fix it if it's not broke kind of a thing. But what does it look like, 5 years from now? Have you even given any of that much thought of like what you want to kind of evolve and do with the firm? I know you even talked about like your kiddo going through into the accounting industry. Is there like something there? Like what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts, but I don't have anything that I'm like North Star, like pointing toward yet. I have a lot of time and space to figure that out, but I don't know because there's so many options now. Like for me, especially, I have a lot of options of what I could do next. And I just want to see that, like, wait till something pulls me in. So it's like, I've got a desire to grow the firm. I've got a desire to go do an acquisition or go do something else and really blow it up again. But I got to make sure that I understand the repercussions of all that too. What else am I giving up? And I'm in that indecisive phase where what do I want to give up for the next 5 years that I can have this as the thing that I have to show for it. So it's a good question, but I don't know if I have an answer for it.
Well, you got to keep putting the content out there, man. Like you're a success story for sure. And that didn't happen by accident. I mean, there's a lot of intentionality and good decisions behind all that stuff. I think a lot of business owners can learn from you, not just in the accounting space, but overall, just your ability to kind of work your way out of it, the things that you've kind of went through. So definitely see opportunities for you there too, just working within and staying connected to the industry.
Yeah, I think that's what gives me the most light right now is doing that stuff. I paused on the content too. I paused on Accounting High for a little bit just to see again, like if I stop doing something, what's pulling at me and what's the next thing. I'm starting to get pulled at that again. I thank you guys for having me on as a guest. I like being guests because it's like ignites me again and I get excited having these conversations and talking to people. So
yeah. Well, as I think of your firm, I guess one thing that strikes me is you've got a huge advantage in that you have a huge amount of time you could devote to this. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to as we do coaching of firms who will say, I can see what I want to change, but I am so immersed in the business, I have no time to do it. So it'll be something like once we get through the busy season of tax, then I'll turn my attention back toward that. And you're like, that getting away from the busy season never seems to happen for them. And so, I'm excited for you to say you could come back in and say, you could drive your firm crazy because you got all the time you want to make these changes, but that's actually a really cool thing.
Yeah. And I just want to be careful about taking the next step because I dove into a lot of things head first without knowing where the next thing comes out of it.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's worked out well for you, man. Like, I don't know if I'd advise you not to just.
Yeah. The last phase of all the rap thing was doing the ones with my kids. And that was a fun ride too. I did that for a couple of years, making music videos. And I know I shared some with you, Adam. But then like kids age out of that stuff too, or like it's just turned into something else. And so that, my son got his musical talents now that he's taken in another direction. He's like in the school band and stuff. So like, I feel like I springboard them to be creative and to do the things that they want to do. So they don't have any regrets later. Right. Like you were saying, it's hard to talk to kids because you want the best for them and you want them to succeed, but you want them to be financially stable too. So how do you instill for them to understand that it's not just all fun and games? I may have been having a ton of fun now, but I worked a lot to get to the point where I had the fun and the freedom.
Yeah. So definitely an and, it doesn't have to be an or for sure.
Yeah.
You got to figure out how to, that's when life gets good, whenever you can figure out how to have both,
Yeah.
Scotty, I'm curious, do you have a favorite rap performance ever you can tell us about? Something where you're like, that was like, I felt like I was in the zone. It was fun. It felt impactful.
It was the ZeroCon, the one I did for ZeroCon. I created a performance for that because Zero changed my life. Zero was a big impact for me at my firm. And that was the reason we grew a lot. And like, that was the intersection of like accounting and tech that just made sense to me, like, especially early days in the cloud. So everything leading up to that was like other performances I did. The Scaling New Heights one was a ton of fun in St. Louis, where you guys' firm is now. That was awesome, but it didn't mean as much as the Zero and Zero one. I did I did a couple songs that I melded together. One was Channel Zero, was by the Lost Boys, a group from New York, and I merged that with Kanye's Jesus Walks, and I changed it to Zero Works, and that landed. It was like, and everybody got it when that song came on. The whole crowd, it was like almost 2,000 people there. Everybody was cheering. That was like, I felt like I did everything at that point. It was
that's
perfect.
great.
It was awesome.
So this was main stage. I mean, if you had 2,000 people, right? Main stage at the conference doing that. That is cool.
Everything led up to that point, and it was like, and the performance, like everything that I planned just went just right. And so it was like, I don't know if I need to do this again. I felt like either that was just the start of doing it more and more, or that could be, I could stop at that. And I did a couple more performances after that too. And I just did one last year. And like, I feel like I want to keep this in my back pocket. I want to be able to do it again, but it's not as a burning desire as it was when I first started doing it.
That's great. Please tell me there was a guy coming after you who is saying like, here's the next releases of Zero, who's there like, oh my God, I can't believe I got to follow this guy.
It was funny. Something like that did happen, and it was.
Yes.
But it was like, I also gave a shout out to Liz Mason during that rap, and she was going to be speaking like the next one after, the next guy after me. So it was like, but once people, like, at first I didn't know if it was going well, and then once everybody in the crowd heard her name and I heard them cheer, I knew they were listening. They were just waiting for the next bar, and it was, and then something hit and a punchline hit, and then the rest of it just flowed. It was,
so we can bring you in as a hype man is what I'm hearing too.
Yeah, I can do. I prefer hype man. I love being a hype man now, because then I don't have to talk about myself either. Like I was talking about all Zero there and other people and stuff like that. So that was why that one was better. I liked that instead of like having to introduce myself and talk about me. Like I get to hype something up.
It's very cool.
That is awesome.
Hey, Tom, before I was thinking like what we should do that would be fun. I was watching this one podcast and they do kind of like a rapid fire thing right towards the end. I think we should do this here. Are you ready, Scotty?
I can be rapid. Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready? So rapid fire. I just, right before we jumped on here, I like typed it in and said, everybody knows who Scotty is. Give me some rapid fire questions for him. So you ready?
Sure.
Favorite rap line that applies to business?
If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
There you go. That's a good one. I like that.
Strong start.
Yeah, that is strong. Maybe we should stop. That was good. Most accountant thing that you still do?
The most accountant thing that I still do?
Yep.
Definitely all of my bills. If I have a bunch of cash, they've got to be facing the same way and the same direction. Like if I ever see a ton of bills and they're all facing a different way, I want to clean
you
those
lose your mind. Okay. That's a good one.
A little bit. It's an OCD thing too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't know if it's accountant or just like OCD, but okay. What's the least accounting thing you do?
Rap.
One firm rule you deleted forever.
One firm rule? Oh.
Yep. That you deleted forever.
I can't say
delete forever.
I can't say tracking time. That's a point of debate, and I know you're going to have Ron on again and stuff, but they started tracking time again. That's why I was able to leave the firm. That was like one thing to get me out of the firm too. Was like they had all the systems locked in. So I don't know. Maybe I could delete that. I always say that if I come back, I'm probably going to have them stop doing that because we don't ever use the time data at all. And I think it's nonsense that we're even doing it now, but it was one of my contingencies. Like we had to get things right because we were virtual and all that. So that could be something that I would come back and delete. Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay. I got two more for you. One belief you changed your mind on.
So I changed my mind a lot. And a lot of beliefs. So I would think that there's not many things that I have stuck with and didn't change my mind on. One thing I've changed my mind on, it's the way I run my firm. There was a lot of things that I was firm and I wasn't malleable at all, and I was very stubborn. I used to be very stubborn. Everybody had to call me Scott. There was no Scotty. So that's one thing that changed. Like, Scotty's more fun too.
Yeah,
so
it is more fun. Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, you're doing good. So we'll close it with this one then. If your accounting firm had a soundtrack, what genre would it be?
If my firm had a soundtrack,
it could be you.
Right
too.
now, it's easy listening. Right now, this is lo-fi, easy listening. Like, so something that's like easy going in the background.
Okay, that's
It's
good.
I mean, but like, still good to listen to. You still want to have it on.
Okay, yeah, as long as it's not like the IRS hold music, right? Not that.
I did a remix of that once. I put that at one of my songs. I did the tax accountant's anthem, and at the end of it, the IRS music was playing. It was
that's
punchline.
Awesome. Yeah. That's great, close.
Good questions. Yeah, I don't think I did that good. I was a little waffly, but
no, those were good, man. Like you said, I put you on the spot. You did well.
Dope.
So any closing thought around something that we missed? And I'll give you a chance, any kind of final closing thought, but anything you were really hoping to sort of get in that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
No, I was really happy with the questions and what you guys went into. Again, I don't have a clear answer on what I'm doing next, and that's been a source of frustration for me. But I would have liked to have given a more clear answer for that, but we'll have to see. We'll all just have to wait and see.
I'll give you a little bit
continued. Yeah. Leave with a little suspense. You got to leave with them wanting more, man.
I like that. That is great. Well, thank you very much. This is really enjoyable.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me on. This is great. Appreciate it.
Thanks.